The latest. Thank you for your love and support. When Emmanuel Macron was addressing the people, he talked about conflict. He mentioned the conflict that is going on in Ukraine, Lebanon, Israel, and any other part of the world, except what they are doing to we the blacks in DR Congo. So when the president heard this, he said it's an insult. If Emmanuel Macron can acknowledge all the conflicts that are happening in the world, except what is happening in DR Congo, say he did not see the need to continue to stay there. Why would they talk about what is happening in DR Congo? When you, the leaders in DR Congo, are not fighting for our brothers, look at the lives we are losing. Congolese life matter. Congo has everything in this world, yet they are living in poverty. They are suffering on their own soil. Look at the things that these our brothers in DR Congo are going through. Yet we have leaders. We have political leaders, people we've elected to take care of us every blessed year. We don't need Emmanuel Macron to talk about it during his summit. All we need is an end to the suffering that our brothers in DR Congo are going through. Whatever Emmanuel Macron says can never change the situation if you do not stand up to set our brothers free. So in Macron's speech and acknowledging the war or conflict that is happening in DR Congo will still not change the fate of our brothers. Stand up and do the needful as our leaders in Africa. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa and in DR Congo.
In Paris, as Congolese President Félix Tshisekedi made a bold move that shook French diplomacy to its core. In a stunning act of defiance, Tshisekedi walked out of the summit, overshadowing what was supposed to be a unifying event for French-speaking nations. The incident has left many questioning the intentions behind French President Emmanuel Macron's handling of the ongoing crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo and France's alleged bias toward Rwanda. The summit, attended by leaders of Francophone countries from around the world, took a dramatic turn when Tshisekedi chose to boycott the heads of state retreat. Tshisekedi accepted the French president's invitation to attend the summit and attended, but after Macron's opening speech, which conspicuously failed to address the ongoing conflict in eastern Congo, Tshisekedi was visibly displeased. For Tshisekedi, this omission was more than just a slight. It was a signal that France might be turning a blind eye to the suffering in the DRC in favor of appeasing Kigali. And so the DRC president decided to skip the summit's heads of state retreat, as well as a luncheon the following day organized by Louise Mushikiwabo, the head of the Organization of Francophone Countries. The DRC would not tolerate diplomatic niceties that ignore its plight. The underlying tension between the DRC and Rwanda has been a simmering conflict for years, with accusations that Rwanda supports the M23 rebels operating in eastern Congo. Both Congo and the United Nations have repeatedly alleged that Rwandan troops and these rebels are fighting side by side on Congolese soil, wreaking havoc in the region. Yet, despite the gravity of this crisis, Macron's failure to directly mention the situation in his address seemed to Kinshasa like an attempt to sweep the conflict under the rug. Macron, for his part, denied any favoritism when confronted at a press conference later that evening. He claimed that France was committed to neutrality and was actively encouraging both countries to reach a peaceful resolution through talks mediated by Angola. Macron's assertion of impartiality, however, rings hollow to many observers who see his diplomatic maneuvers as leaning decidedly towards protecting French interests in Kigali, a longtime ally in the region. What's more intriguing is that before the summit even began, Macron met separately with the leaders of Rwanda and the DRC. These closed-door discussions have fueled speculation about what was said and whether Macron had already sided with Rwanda before the summit officially opened. The optics of these meetings, combined with Tshisekedi's walkout, paint a picture of a deepening rift not only between Kinshasa and Kigali, but also between the DRC and France itself. This is not a good look for France at all. Macron organized the Francophonie summit in the first place to try and bolster France's influence in a conflict-ridden world, particularly in Africa. The two-day summit saw dozens of heads of state and members of the International Francophone Organization meet to talk about the future of the French language, as well as international crises. Africa was big on the Francophonie summit agenda for Macron. Indeed, it is no secret that in recent times, a notable shift has occurred as many African countries have distanced themselves from France, questioning its role and influence on the continent. Long-standing grievances about France's colonial legacy, perceived political interference, and economic dominance have led to a surge in anti-French sentiment across Africa. Countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and the Central African Republic have openly criticized French policies and sought closer ties with new partners like Russia and China. Macron was hoping this summit would help him get back in the good books of many French-speaking countries in Africa, so one can only imagine how embarrassed he was when DRC leader Felix Tshisekedi boycotted his retreat and luncheon. This incident is more than just a diplomatic spat. It's a turning point in the political dynamics between the DRC and its former colonial power. Tshisekedi's bold stance exposed the cracks in France's influence over its former colonies and raised uncomfortable questions about the true motives behind Macron's foreign policy in Africa. It also highlighted the growing frustration of African leaders with what they perceive as Western hypocrisy, where words of solidarity rarely translate into meaningful action when African lives are at stake. The walkout also served as a powerful reminder that the days when African leaders quietly accepted the dictates of Western powers are fading. Tshisekedi's move signaled that the DRC, at least under his leadership, would not be bullied into silence or sidelined in matters that directly affect its sovereignty and security. In a world where geopolitical alliances are constantly shifting, this incident at the Francophone Summit may very well mark the beginning of a more assertive African stance against perceived neo-colonial attitudes.